my father, Nathan Appleton, owns a mill here in Lowell. For years, he told me about the girls that work the looms in his building, and today I decided to come down and talk to a couple of the girls employed there. I have with me Hattie Dellingham and Sophia Blake. We're going to tell you a little bit about our lives in the 1800s. I lived a very privileged childhood. My father is a banker, manufacturer, and a very upstanding member of our society. Everyone knows our family name, and we attend parties frequented by Boston's most prominent families. We take trips into New York, and Father always buys us lovely presents. We never have want for anything in my home.
My name is Hattie Dellingham. I'm 13 years old, and I've lived in Lowell my whole entire life. It wasn't until I was 7 years old that my father had died that my mother found a new job. She needed a new job. Luckily enough, she became a boarding house keeper. So this is our new life now, watching my mother cook and clean for those 30 to 40 young women living in that house, rushing from their workroom to that boarding house and fighting for those potatoes, forks, some days they even fought for a chair. Well, it's satisfying enough that I'm helping my mother. It's all I can do, because it's our new life now. My brothers and I, helping my mom make a living.
Hi, I'm Sophia Blake, and I come from a very humble wheat farm in western Massachusetts. It's not much. I lived there with my mother, my father, and my two brothers, and when I think about my childhood, all I can remember is helping my mom cook and clean and, of course, relieve the hens from their eggs and take care of my cow, Betsy. But I do remember this one doll that my mom took time to make for me. It wasn't much, just a rag doll, but I absolutely treasured it.
Being a wealthy child, I received the best tutors money could buy. I was taught reading, writing, and language and foreign languages and painting. I spent most of the morning on my studies, and in the afternoon I would have lunch freshly prepared by our cook.
You know, before this life that I had of all this commotion, the hustle and bustle, my brothers and I had too. We went to school until the age of 10. We learned a little bit of reading, a little bit of writing, and some days the teacher even taught us math. See, my mother wasn't wealthy enough to further on our education when we wanted to go to school. I wanted to read a little bit more. I saw those young girls going hand in hand through the shops, and they bought books with their own money. Well, what I want to do is, I really want to go back to school, but because I don't have enough money, I'm just hoping that I make enough money to go back.
I just recently moved here to Lowell, and when I first came, I realized I'm not as formally educated like most other girls. I guess my parents really didn't have the time. I don't know how to read or write or even do any math. I could barely sign my own name. But I realized I don't need any of those things to work in the mills, which is why I was here, to make a pay.
My husband, Henry, is a teacher at Harvard University teaching modern language. As for me, I care for the household and our 6 children. I'm in charge of all the maids, the butlers, gardeners, etc. When I was young, my father would give me a monthly allowance of $50, which I usually spent on painting supplies and candy. As for now, I can spend what I want, as my husband's estate is worth well over $200,000.
Oh dear, my mother was a boarding house keeper all right, and she was a foolish one at that. She saw to it that all those boarders living in her house were well fed. Well, that was where her mistake was, because she still had 3 of us to take care of. So, as a 13-year-old, my mother brought me to be agent at the Lowell Mills. There, I was assigned to become a doffer. I had absolutely simple work working in those mills. All I had to do was take those bobbin frames and take them out from those spinning frames and replace them with new bobbins. That's all I had to do, 15 minutes every single hour. I did it about like 100 times a day, but I was making $2 a week. $2! Most of the time I didn't get to see the money because I was helping my mom out, but still, $2!
Our farm back home wasn't really doing so well, but Pop thought we'd turn things around, so he sent me here to Lowell 2 months ago to make some tuition money for my oldest brother, Matthew. He wanted to go to agricultural college and help out. So I'm here in Lowell, and the agent saw me and saw that I was starting out, and I wasn't very wealthy, so he put me in the spinning room with most of the immigrants, and it was good work, but a lot of work. 14 hours a day, 6 days a week. And it wasn't always a delight. I remember the day Sarah Quimby lost 2 fingers. She's never been the same since. But it's work, and it's $3.75 a week, which I can send home and help my family, and that's what matters.
In my free time, I enjoy painting and reading. My husband and I share many of the same interests, and quite often his friends, such as Ralph Waldo Emerson and Nathaniel Hawthorne, will come to the house for visits. My husband is also an activist, and we participate in many abolitionist movements.
Oh boy, some days when the overseer was kind enough, he'd allow me to play out in the mill yard with the other kids. We'd play hopscotch. We'd play with my homemade doll, my homemade checkers, and obviously my homemade playing cards. Most of the time, my life was about free time. I only worked 15 minutes every hour, so I got to play a lot. Some days I'd help my mom clean, but most of the time I wanted to play.
14 hours a day is quite a chunk. It didn't really leave me with a lot of free time, see. But this is the only dress I own and get tattered around those machines, so I started teaching myself how to sew and hopefully learn to mend and fix this dress I have. It's treated me well, but kept me busy.
My home in Cambridge, Craigie House, was a wedding gift from my father to me and Henry. It's a beautiful large house. It's painted yellow and the rooms are grand, and Henry's office is the loveliest room in the house. Our large garden serves the children's enchanted forest, and I couldn't ask for a more beautiful home.
Now, if you guys don't know, I'm a very smart 13-year-old. You know, in order to get away from room and board, I slept with my mother in a small room that she had near the kitchen. Some days it was really tight. Some nights we had visitors come visit us. Well, what do you know, our beds were made out of hay, so there were bed bugs, you know. I named some of them, but they weren't the loveliest visitors around. But you know what? For a 13-year-old, I could still smell that food cooking off the stovetop, and that was the most satisfying thing a 13-year-old can ever ask for.
I really couldn't afford to live in a boarding house like most of the other girls, but I did happen to find this quaint little room with this nice Irish family in Fletcher's in a tenement. It wasn't much. It was a thin mat of hay, a pitcher for washing, and a chamber pot. But at least it was somewhere to sleep and a hot meal at night.
For so long, my father told me about the girls employed at his mill, but he didn't really know about the struggles that they had to endure and their hardships. Coming down and talking to Hattie and Sophie has given me a lot of perspective and has made me appreciate everything I've been given so much more.
Living in Lowell, I've realized that there are so many opportunities out here for me. I see these big girls working in the weave room, making a quick buck sometimes, and they walk hand in hand in those bonnet shops, and they even went to grand lectures with each other. Do you guys see this bonnet? My mom bought me this with her money. Well, you know what? I'm going to be able to make my own money and buy my own bonnet.
I'm still new here, Lowell, and I may not be as well educated as the other girls or nicely dressed. I can't even afford my own bonnet. But there's one thing that helps me get through all of that. I sure know that I can milk a cow a lot faster than any of them.